Hello everybody, today we're going to be talking about the Monstera plant, or it's otherwise known as the Swiss cheese plant, and that is because of the holes that you get into the leaves. This is a very lovely plant, but this one has been neglected as of late, which is a big shame, which is why it doesn't look very good, to be totally honest. We have just moved, which is why it has been more neglected than it should have been. You can see here by the browning of the leaves that it has been not watered enough, and it has just perished and it's just not doing very well. And one major reason for that is that it is incredibly root bound. So if I take the pot out of the other pot and you look at the bottom of this plant, you can see the roots here, and the fact that they're coming out of the pot means that it is definitely time for it to move home and to get a better house. What we're actually going to do with this one today is propagate this plant, and we're going to do that for a number of reasons. One of them is that this plant is just a mess at the moment and it just needs to be reshaped and kind of like rejigged to make the plant healthy and happy, and also just to make it look a little bit nicer. And secondly, my sister has been in the market for a new houseplant and she particularly likes this one when they're healthy. So the plan is to take a cutting, get some nice roots and pot one up for her, which would be quite a nice housewarming gift for her. So it's actually very easy to propagate this type of plant, which is very useful. Hello socks. The cat is also helping. So yes, this plant is actually very easy to propagate, and all you need is a pair of shears. Make sure that they are clean. These ones look a little bit worn, but they are clean. And you can do that either with soapy water, or if you want to be really clean, you can use like an ethanol rub or an alcohol rub. But make sure they are dry when you come to use them. So yes, all you need is some shears or a very sharp knife, also clean, and a jug of water. So in this case, this is what we're going to be using. So all you need to do is cut the plant, but you can't just cut it anywhere. Well, I suppose you can, but you shouldn't. So what you see here, these brown things, they're called aerial roots, and these are for getting, I suppose, oxygen into the plant, but also when they're stood up, they help to support the plant because they tie around like the support that you've got on them. But in this case, they are just there. And you can actually trim these without damaging the plant, which is quite good. So if you really don't like the look of them, you can just cut them off, which is perfectly fine. But they are also very good for rooting. So once you put them in the water, you will actually get like normal roots develop, and they will come out of here. Once you have normally developed roots, you can then plant it into compost and they will grow completely as you would expect. So these plants here, the aerial roots, they grow out of what are called nodes. And these here, so these points that you see here, these are the nodes. And what you want to do is just cut underneath a node, and ideally you would have an aerial root, but that's not completely necessary. So we're going to cut this lot just here. You want to get a nice clean cut. So this is what it looks like on the inside, if the camera will focus. And so once you've got your cutting, just put it aside for now. I think the cat's going to play with it. And you can see here that that isn't going to do very much. And this leaf is also connected to that part of the plant, but as you can see, this leaf is not doing very well, so we're just going to leave it. We'll probably cut it off, to be honest. So now we're just going to go through and cut off the rest of the plant at different points so we can make a nice little collection of different cuttings. Socks. For this particular area, you can see here that this plant has actually been snapped and it has just come off, which is not amazing, but it's okay. It was when the plant was being moved by the movers, they were less than completely careful, which is, it's a shame, but it's all right. The plant is survivable. This is not an amazing cutting because it's not overly healthy. As you can see by the different leaves that are on this particular cutting, it's not fantastic, but it will survive. And with the roots, eventually it'll get stronger, and this one will probably perish, but the other one looks quite well. And you can see with this young leaf that it doesn't have any of the kind of like slits that are known in the Swiss cheese plant. But as the leaf matures and the little cutting gets older and stronger, then the slits will appear. This one here has also been snapped, and you can see it a little bit closer. So you can see where it has been snapped, the region has already dried off. So hopefully that should reduce the risk of the cutting getting infected. I've never had a problem with cuttings before. I've actually done usually quite well with them. So fingers crossed everything works out well and the cuttings will survive and thrive. I was going to leave this here, but since I've already kind of like decimated the plant, but I'm actually going to cut it because there is a tiny little aerial root growing there, so I'm just going to cut it beneath that node and put that in water and we'll see what happens. I'm also going to cut this one off because I don't like the look of it, to be totally honest. And whilst this plant has been decimated, it will come back and it will be perfectly fine in a little while. There's already some new growth here from where the one of the snaps were, and there's a little leaf. So I will leave it as it is. I'll put it back on the windowsill in the bathroom, and then we will see how it progresses in the next couple of months. I'm sure it will do very well now that there is a lot more room in the pot for now. Ideally this plant will be transplanted, but I don't have the facilities to do that today because I need to get a new pot and soil and such things. But for now it'll be perfectly well. So now that we have our cuttings, what we want to do is put them in the water. And there is nothing special about this aspect of putting the cuttings in the water. All you need to do is put them in. Now this pot that I'm using is not overly large, so chances are not everything is going to fit, but that's okay. I will simply get another pot and we'll go from there. So as you can see, these aerial roots are very long and they are not going to fit, so I'm actually going to trim them a little bit and then we will put them in. For these little ones, I'm going to get a glass from downstairs and I will use that for supporting them because they're not all going to fit in there. And it would be unfair to the plants to have too much competition for the water, even though it will be topped up and the water changed regularly. So now that the rest of the cuttings won't fit in that same bottle that we've already been using, I have found this straight neck vase. And this will do exactly the same thing, but look a little bit prettier. And we're just going to put them in. That one and this one. If it will go in, there we go. And that will do for in there. And then for the little cuttings that we've taken, I'm just going to use this little glass. So we're just going to drop them in and they will look very pretty as they grow, and the wonderful thing about putting plants in water is that they require very minimal care. All you need to do is make sure that the water is refreshed every couple of days and kind of just leave them to it. And watching the roots grow is quite wonderful, to be honest, because of course you never see it when the plants are growing in the soil. So watching them in water is quite lovely. You can also do the same with avocados, which is fantastic fun. And this is the final cutting that we have. And now that we have these, we're just going to put them on the windowsill and watch them grow. So here we have the plants in their new home for now. They're actually in my bathroom, which is why it's probably a little bit more echoey in here than it was just previously. As you can see, they are all quite happy in their new water, and they will stay in here for a couple of weeks and we'll just watch how they grow. So we should be able to see the roots come into the water and start to get longer and bigger. And as they do that, then the water in the vessels will be changed every couple of days, just to keep it nice and fresh. And you can use tap water, but plants in general actually prefer rainwater. So we have some water butts outside, so I'll be using rainwater. And yeah, they're also in the bathroom because these are tropical plants and they enjoy the humidity. So this will also help them not to go brown, such as these ones, and they should thrive. So I'll keep you updated, of course, and in a couple of months, or a couple of weeks, sorry, we should be able to transplant them and make them look lovely and pretty. So it'll be an interesting journey for all of us, and we'll see how it goes. So yeah.